And good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time you may be watching this broadcast. I'm Woody Collins with Congo Helping Hands, and welcome to this broadcast of talking about the Congo. And today's subject we're going to talk about is why there are so few wells in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Why there's no access to water is so limited. So we will get into that shortly, but also like to remind you, if you're liking these broadcasts, please like, subscribe, and share these so that other people can hear about what's going on in the Congo and how you can help. So let's go ahead and get started. The first reason is because I think it's cost. It costs to drill a lot. It costs a lot to drill wells, somewhere from minimum of 12 to 15, $20,000 to drill one single well. And we're not talking about an industrial sized well. We're talking about a uh, well that would basically be used in the United States for a family, for a group of small houses. So it costs a lot. And the reason why it costs a lot is because of the supply and demand. And that's the supply and demand of well drillers, the supply and demand of trucks, well drilling equipment, and the supply and demand of uh, the the actual pipes and stuff that you have to put into each well. You have to put a pump in there. You have to put casing and water pipe and all that stuff. Since Congo is an undeveloped country, you have to at least get that material from Kinshasa or a larger city. Maybe Lubumbashi may have it, and places like that. It's not available. There's no such thing as Lowe's, Home Depots, uh, even Amazon, where you can order stuff and have it delivered. You have to ship it by air, and that takes weeks to ship it, and it's costs a lot. So that drives up the price along with the supply and demand. Second reason why is there is water available because Congo has the Congo River and the Congo Basin. There's a lot of water in that area. And so, therefore, when you think about it, with the amount of water occurring naturally in rivers, creeks, and also springs, people have access to water. It's not like in a desert area uh, that they don't have water. And also, finally, Congo has two uh, substantial rainy seasons. One that would be equivalent to before at the end of their winter, their summer period, and another going after their winter period is over with. They have another rainy season because the Congo lies right on the equator, so therefore they get the rainy season from both hemispheres. They get it from the northern hemisphere and from the southern hemisphere, meaning say our patterns they are opposite one another. So therefore, we typically have a rainy season in a lot of places just only once a year, but they get it twice a year because they live near the equator. And finally, it's things like electricity. Most of the wells have to be run by electricity unless you put in a hand pump, and a hand pump cannot pump that much water, uh, and they break down frequently. We here in the United States we use electric pumps. We use electric pumps even, say, in a rural area where even a farm, you would drill a well and you would have an electric pump to it because you would have electricity, you can have a pump. Most of the pumps that's electric, they are AC, which basically requires our standard electricity. Only a few of them are AC and DC, and DC is something that runs off a battery, a DC current, solar panels, or something like that. So therefore, if you don't have electricity, you need at least an AC DC pump, or I don't think they make a strictly DC pump, but you need to have something like that so that you can have a source of electricity. So without electricity, uh, that's another reason you don't have wells, because if you know, and after you get to a certain depth down in the ground, hand pump do not work because they cannot pull the water up from that distance. So that's another reason. Even though in the Congo that's specifically not the case, because most of the water in Congo is what we would call shallow. It's not that deep. Even if you go down to 120 feet, you can be into a good aquifer to get water out of it. So therefore, you don't have to worry about that, but still you do need electricity because that would do it. So those are my basic three reasons that I found over the years that they don't have a lot of wells. Number one is supply and demand of well drillers, equipment, and supplies. Number two is there is availability of water around so that there's not people are really suffering, even though they have rivers. A lot of people don't drink the water they don't drink the water out of the river, but those who do, uh, they get sick. And for instance, cholera is endemic in the Congo. And what I mean by endemic, it is prevalent. It is everywhere because their sources of water are contaminated, and therefore they're not drilling wells that will get water from a deeper source and water that has been naturally purified by the layers of sand that the water would go through as it gets into the aquifer. That's a natural uh, uh, purification. That's God's purification of water. Um, and so, that's another reason that because they would actually go out and put in a cap of spring, and you can get spring water, and that spring water is bubbling up. That would probably be, in a lot of cases, we found out that even though about 30% of them had E. coli in it, uh, it's still relatively safe in most cases, but still there is cases where it is bad water. So that is what I wanted to say on why there's not a lot of water wells. So when you don't have a water well, you can't get water into a tank high enough that would build up pressure so that you can pump it through a house. So then the houses don't have water. You go get water in a bucket, a jug, and you bring it back to your house, and that's what you use. And so that's the situation you have in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and especially in the rural area. Probably 7 out of 10 people in the rural areas do not have access to water, meaning to say they cannot go get water within a 30-minute walk and back. So thank you all for coming by. Thank you all for liking, subscribing, and sharing our publications. And we will talk to you tomorrow. And let's get this pandemic under control by washing your hands with water. Number two is socially distance yourself. And finally, wearing your mask. And we will talk to you tomorrow at 3 o'clock again.